It is with a great deal of pleasure. Sadness a little because our friend Elise is still on leave, but it's exciting to have our substitute, Sienna Mannix, on the phone. Hello, Sienna.
Hello, Neil. Hi, Rob. Good singing there, Rob.
Thank you very much.
Yes. What time's your audiologist appointment?
What? What? Sorry?
An audiologist, a person who checks your hearing.
Oh.
No, it was fine.
I was thinking I was going to hire him for the next gig.
No, in my defence, I didn't realise you had the microphone on.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I was singing to myself.
See there's green lights here?
I wasn't looking at your green lights. I was in singing mode. I was entertaining myself.
Yes, he does that quite frequently. Sienna, welcome back to the women's sports seat, and thank you for being our person on short notice again. What's going on in the world of women's sport?
Look, I'll start straight up. Somebody else who's singing quite at the moment, Ash Barty. How could we talk about women's sport in Australia and not talk about her?
Yeah. Yes, there's quite a racket being raised, isn't there?
Yes, very well done. I'll pay you that one.
Thank you very much. Is it 40 years since we had an Australian woman in a Grand Slam final in this country?
42.
42.
To be precise. Some girl O'Neill.
Yep.
I can't remember if it was
Kerry?
it Susie? No, she was a...
Kerry O'Neill?
No, that was Kerry Melville.
Wasn't the same person?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, sorry, we'll just talk amongst ourselves here. Tell us about Ash Barty.
That's all right. Obviously, she's just been dominating. I don't know how many of the games you guys have caught. I've watched a few, and she just gets out on that court and she dominates every single game. She's playing strong. I believe she's 10-0 for this season.
That's a fairly impressive set. I to be honest, I haven't seen any of it. I find tennis commentary worse than cricket commentary, and I just can't stomach listening to Jim Courier and his mates. So I haven't watched any of it. But I did read during the week in the paper that one of her opponents said, "You just can't beat her."
No.
You just can't beat her. That's a big statement.
In the form she is in at the moment.
Really?
Mm. Or words to that effect. I may be paraphrasing.
Well, I just sort of thought, I don't know, but you're thinking, Sienna, but she beat the 7th seed in the semi-final and is playing the 28th or something in the final. You think, it's be a walk in the park. But we know from previous experiences, I hope she's not thinking like that. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't be.
No, I heard an interview she did the other day where she said she's not even watching her opponent's games. She doesn't want to see the matches. And she's just mentally getting herself prepared into that right space. So she goes out there and takes the game as it is.
And I think it comes back to this thing of, and I'm going to use a football comparison here, we want to go out and play our game plan rather than worrying too much about the opposition's game plan. I suspect that's where she's trying to get to.
Correct, yeah.
So rather than trying to beat the other person, she's trying to win the match.
Exactly, and that's exactly what she does every single match, and I think that's part of why she is so strong. It's the psychological side to the game rather than just the physical.
And for reference, in 1978 Australian women's final, Christine O'Neill from Australia defeated Betty Nagelson from the US in 2 sets.
And the reason that Rob knows that is he was in his mid-30s in the 1970, whatever it was. You and I, of course, weren't born, so, you know.
No, I mean, that was a little before my time.
A little before my time, too, if I try and lie my way out of it.
She's also, again, a shining light for being a wonderful ambassador for our country and the sport of tennis after we've had a period of time where the game was sort of looked upon through a bit of disrepute around the world for the vaccine nonsense, and then we had a couple of doses of Nick Kyrgios and his mate that didn't fill us with excitement either, and that bloke from Russia, his behaviour was a bit ordinary, plus the crowd. Everything was wrong about the tennis for a period, but all of a sudden along comes Ash Barty and we love the game again.
Yeah, she's given that local Aussie face back to the game, and she's sort of given that purpose again. It's a bit like Marnus with the cricket. You get those players who come through and they change the way people view the whole game.
Were you listening last week when Neil put Marnus on the chopping block? He thought the cricket's a wonderful game. It doesn't really need Marnus. Marnus needs cricket more than cricket needs Marnus, is the general feeling from this studio. Do you have a different opinion, Sienna?
Oh, look, it's just his passion. That's the way I say it. From what I've watched with him in the game, his passion for the game. That's what comes across with Ash, is you just see she's so passionate for the game, and for the right reasons, not so much for winning or any of that side. She's looking at it straight on as a genuine player.
I get the sense, clearly I've not met her, although with the sort of lineup of guests that we're having this year on the Two Blokes Chatting Radio Show, she'll probably be around mid-April, we'll get her in. But we've just, it gives you the impression that if someone said to her, listen, Ash, you don't really need to do the press conference at the end of the game, she'd go, oh, good, okay, I'll go back to my hotel room. She doesn't, what was the word that Glenn Shorrock used last week? He said, dropping a name, I don't seek celebrity, or I don't...
Yeah, something along those lines.
I don't think she likes that part of it. She just wants to be the girl from Queensland.
Yeah, she just wants to be happy playing tennis.
And we like people like that.
It definitely makes a difference.
And we do forget, of course, that she played cricket at the elite level. She played for the Brisbane Heat, I think, in the BBL for a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
He even brought mention of that in one of her speeches the other day.
So a lot of people, there's a lot about Elise Perry, isn't it, that plays...
She plays soccer.
Yep, those sort of people that you go,
football.
Soccer. She didn't play AFLW. Speaking of cricket, though, there's an Ashes series going on. An Ashes series that I really like the concept of, that says you get points for all forms of the game, not just the long form.
Yeah. And I'll just quickly go through the scores because I have them in front of me. Australia made 9, declared for 337. And of that, Rachel Haynes, 86, the captain Meg Lanning, top scored with 93, and Talia McGrath kept her one-day form going with a very good 52, Ash Gardner, 56. So 4 half-centuries in that innings, which is a really good sign. And England were in lots and lots and lots of early trouble when they had slipped to 6 for 120. But the captain, Heather Knight, at stumps is 127 not out. Magnificent innings. Sophie Eccleston come in at number 10. They were looking on all sorts of trouble at 8 for 169, but they're now 8 for 235. A bit of a fight back. They've avoided the follow-on, and this is very much a good game of cricket. One of the highlights, Elise Perry, we just talked about her. There was a bit of talk that the days might have gone past her, but her bowling yesterday, from all reports, was every bit as good as it's ever been. So she's back. Have you been following it a little bit, Sienna?
Yeah, I mean, I've followed it a little bit, not as much as I'd like, obviously, at the moment. But I've got to say, those names that you just dropped, they're playing immaculate cricket. That bowling that was happening yesterday, just unheard of.
Yeah, they're in pretty good spirits. Alana King took her first wicket in Test cricket, bowling 23 overs of leg spin, taking 1 for 43. Very tidy figures. And Darcy Brown, another teenager, opened the bowling, got an early wicket, and very good figures. So not only are the good, experienced players playing well, the youth is also at the top of their game. So looks good for the long term.
Yeah, it's nice to see that coming up through.
Yeah, and I think what we're now starting to see a bit with the cricket, a bit like the girls with the AFLW coming through as well, that the skill level is getting to the stage now where someone like Elise Perry can be left out of a T20 because her bowling is test-like. Yep. In the same way as you'll never see Adam Zampa play Test cricket for Australia, but he'll be always there in the T20s. I think we're getting to the stage now where the skill set and the experience is such that they can afford to say, sorry, Elise, you don't play T20s, but you do play Test.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about the return of spin bowling. We had a period where it was all about Shane Warne and there were people bowling leg spin, and that disappeared again. We went back to the old military medium paces, but in all forms of the game now, good spin bowlers are sought after, and often 3 of them in a team in a 2020 game, which you wouldn't think, but bowled beautifully last night, the Perth Scorchers, who won the BBL final, and it's great to see, being a former spin bowler myself, it's great to see the craft being utilised well again. And women's cricket as well. Sienna?
Yes.
Do you think we should let Neil talk about his wonderful new footballing sensation? I've heard nothing about it. You've heard about it, haven't seen it. Neil, you saw it. Tell us what you saw.
I saw a girl from Dalby in Queensland. You've got to love this name. Her name is Zimmerly Farquharson.
Really?
Known to all and sundry as Zimmy.
Yep, that'll do.
And she's like... We've got players like Cyril, he's delicious, isn't he?
Yes.
And Buddy and these guys that took forever to establish a one-name situation. By half-time, she was Zimmy for the commentators. Now, Farquharson's not that hard to say, although it is a bit tricky around the corners. The closest thing I can describe to her debut on Tuesday night is the Jared Brennan debut that happened, I guess, 10, 12, 13 years ago against Collingwood where he got the 3 Brownlow votes. She won't get the 3 Brownlow votes because it's called the women's best and fairest, but she won't get the 3 votes because Emily Bates played a ripping game. But she came into a team as a debutante with there were 4 debutantes, 2 on each side. The Brisbane side obviously has had a lot of COVID going on. They were missing their first choice fullback and first choice full forward. They lost their ruckman halfway through the game. So what you find is that this is an opportunity for this kid to step up on a stage. She runs like the wind. Her first pickup, she got the ball on the wing, took 2 bounces and dropped it onto the chest of the full forward in the goal square, having waited the kick to go over the back of the pack and land in her arms. And you saw that and you go, wow. Yep. Just before 3/4 time, when the Lions had the game well and truly in the keep, my mate Benny Waterworth was commentating, and she's taken a mark next to the behind post, and he goes, "Oh, I'd be doing the check side from there. There's no way in the world she's going. Oh, she's curled it through the." It was sort of Charlie Cameron meet Eddie Betts. It was just phenomenal, and she wears the long sleeve jumper, and they were wearing their Pride jumper the other day, which is white, so she stood out in the crowd. She's got number 22, which is always the double-digit numbers always look better. She is going to be an absolute sensation.
Right, I'll be watching out for her then.
She's playing today against the Cats,
so she doesn't need a surname anymore. She's just Zimmy.
She's just Zimmy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Cats playing where today?
They're playing against the Brisbane Lions in Maroochydore.
Oh, okay. It will be on some form of pay television only.
I assume so. Yeah,
okay.
Because it involves an interstate side. Why would you put it on the free-to-air down here? So what else is happening in AFLW? Sienna, I know your lot have had a couple of weeks off with the COVID, and they played yesterday and looked like a team that was coming off a COVID break.
Yeah, look, it wasn't our finest performance, but what do you expect after 20 days off? It's quite a time to have to bounce back from. But I tell you what, they did all right considering it's just warming back up. But speaking of that game, you had GWS Nicole Barr step up, and she sort of kicked her first goal out of her 33-game professional career, and she ended the game with 3 to a name, which is just,
oh wow,
it's amazing. It's like you mentioned earlier, these younger players have now got a chance to step up, and they're sort of getting to display their skills. So whilst it's not a positive, these health and safety protocols preventing players from playing and having to change games, it is giving us a chance to see these younger ones and what they can do, and sort of giving them a good chance at doing their best, which is nice to see.
Well, given what the Bulldogs have been through in recent times and your current living arrangements, I fully expected to see the number 43 jumper handed out to S. Mannix, given that they're really short at the minute. For the younger kids on the because I think a list is 30. In the AFLW, and basically, if you don't have enough players, you don't play. That's why the Bulldogs have been out. I kind of expected you to get a run.
Oh, look, they're not that desperate.
Well, they asked Rob.
See, they're getting there.
You're next on the list after Rob.
I reckon you'd be fine coming off the half-back flank, Sienna.
Oh, no, you haven't seen the way I handle football. Good.
But it looks like this AFLW season is going to be a bit sort of stuffed around a bit with COVID, and there's not much we can do about it, I guess. The Bulldogs are a couple of games behind everybody else in terms of the games they've played. The Lions are 1 behind. I think the Gold Coast Suns are 1 game behind. I assume at some stage they're going to have a catch-up.
Yeah, well, they've already rescheduled Colling and West Coast Eagles to round 6.
Okay.
And that's, again, just a reflection of this health and safety protocols. It's just, unfortunately, they're all struggling with it at the moment.
I noticed, too, that we are now referring to players missing out because of, quote, the health and safety protocol, unquote, rather than missing for COVID.
Yeah, look, I've noticed a lot of the sporting industry don't like to use the C word too much.
No, we're not allowed to use the C word on radio.
Ooh.
Oh, not that C word. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting season, and I'm hoping that the Lions-Cats game is this afternoon. I don't know what time it's on, because I'd rather watch that and Ash Barty. I will watch the final with her in it. I can do the volume down or something.
That's all you need to do. Put Phil Collins' album on. It's his birthday tomorrow, and turn the sound down. Beautiful.
Go to Sandown. Watch the dogs.
Turn the sound.
I beg your
down,
pardon. Sorry,
you clown.
Yes, Neil.
A shout out too. One last thing I did want to mention about women's cricket over men's cricket and why it's so much better to watch. 2 days of cricket, 12 hours of cricket, 191 overs were bowled. The men in 12 hours are lucky to manage 160 overs. Admittedly, they have got slightly longer run-ups, but the other and main reason is the girls aren't prima donnas and they don't have people running on the ground every 3 minutes with messages and water bottles. Lesson, boys, entertainment package. Please bowl some more overs. Thank you very much.
There was someone the other day saying that part of the concern is a Channel 7 requirement that they have an ad at the end of every over, and that there are times when the Australian cricketers and the English cricketers were standing there for over 15 seconds waiting for the broadcast to come back so they can continue the game of cricket.
Well, if that is the case, that is another disgrace. There's also occasion too where an English batsman, who shall remain nameless because he's left-handed and got a funny name named Daywood, would wait till Pat Cummins, I was there watching live, wait till Pat Cummins got to the end of his run-up, then he'd walk down to the middle of the pitch and pat down some imaginary grass tuft, and then walk back while Pat's going twiddling his thumbs at the end of his run-up. They are frustrating to the point. Girls, well done. Great entertainment package indeed.
Speaking of great entertainment packages, Sienna, thank you for being with us at short notice. We will maybe speak to you in 2 weeks. If not, we will talk to you at some other time.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks, gents.
And for those who are thinking she didn't know the cricket scores or whatever, hasn't caught much, Sienna has been working her you-know-what off. I think it's fair to say that you work in the sport and recreation industry. Is that fair?
Correct, yes.
And let's just say that because there's not very many people who are teaching swimming lessons at the moment, Sienna is frantically busy and took this call from us yesterday and has done that standing on her head in 24 hours. So thanks again for doing it at short notice. We are very, very appreciative.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
All right, well, that's tomorrow. Enjoy your day.
You too. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Sienna Mannix, our step-in substitute for women's sport. We're going to